60 years ago, around this time, the third week of September, the Indian Army was virtually on the outskirts of Lahore.
Thereafter, in August, it launched a very ambitious operation, Operation Gibraltar. The aim was to capture the Jammu and Kashmir.
Why did Pakistan continue to provoke us? I fail to understand, despite India being so generous with that Indus Waters Treaty in 1960.
Indian strategy, if I can say so, starting from Kutch, Kargil, Kashmir, was to prevent the Pakistani misadventures. Pakistan failed to achieve any of its objectives. It failed to change the status quo in Kutch. It was evicted from Kargil. We destroyed a large number of tanks and their aircrafts. As per us, more than 5,000 Pakistani soldiers were killed in this operation.
60 years ago, around this time, the third week of September, the Indian Army was virtually on the outskirts of Lahore. Pakistan, it had lost almost 60% of its armor, more than 300 tanks destroyed in a number of battles. Pakistan had been given a bloody nose. But this time, in 2025, Pakistan has been given a bloody nose again in Operation Sindoor. And this time, the Indian Armed Forces did not even have to cross the Ichogil Canal. To talk more about the 1965 war and Operation Sindoor, I'm now joined by one of the key architects of India's victory in Operation Sindoor, the Army Commander, Western Command, Lieutenant General Manoj Kumar Katyar. Sir, welcome on the Chakravyuh podcast.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you.
Sir, as we celebrate 60 years of that spectacular victory in 1965 that some have often called a stalemate, we'll talk about that in greater detail. We will also talk about Operation Sindoor, because somewhere down the line, Pakistan doesn't seem to learn its lessons. But for the benefit of our younger viewers, I want you to talk us through the way the 65 war started and why 65 war was so important to send across that message to Pakistan.
Yeah, actually, like you said, 20th September, historically a very important date for us. 60 years back, we were on the outskirts of Lahore and Sialkot. But actually, the operations in 1965 started in the month of April, when Pakistan attempted to capture certain disputed areas in Kutch. We foiled those attempts. But then again in May 1965, Pakistan surreptitiously occupied certain peaks in Kargil area, like it did again in 1999. We again actually evicted him, defeated him, evicted him from all those peaks in Kargil. Thereafter, in August, it launched a very ambitious operation, Operation Gibraltar. The aim was to capture the Jammu and Kashmir. And it trained a huge militia of Rajakars, which were trained and officered by the Pakistan Army. Aim was to infiltrate them, take the help of Jammu Kashmir Awam, and capture the whole of Jammu and Kashmir. But the Indian Army, again, with the help of Jammu and Kashmir Awam, which was very loyal to the cause of India, foiled the attempts of Pakistan. We evicted all the Rajakars, killed most of them or captured them, and this attempt of Pakistan to capture Jammu and Kashmir was foiled. In fact, we launched our attacks across the that time ceasefire line and captured a number of important places. Haji Pir Pass, if you remember, was one of the places we captured across the ceasefire line. But then Pakistan, again, since was very desperate to capture J&K, it launched a proper military offensive to capture Akhnur. The aim was that it will cut off Jammu and Kashmir, and the Jammu and Kashmir will then be captured by the Pakistan. But again, we foiled those attempts. It could not move towards Akhnur. So there was a repeated, you can say, provocations by Pakistan starting from April till September. So now our leadership decided that we will launch our offensive. And then on 6th September, our 11 Corps launched the offensive towards Lahore. And on 8th September, our 1 Corps launched the offensive towards Sialkot. Now, in both these operations, we captured a lot of territory. We captured a lot of important areas. And we were, if I can say, threateningly close to Lahore and Sialkot.
Yeah.
And that forced Pakistan to seek request for ceasefire, which of course, our leadership accepted. So if I can summarize, in 1965, we foiled Pakistan's repeated attempts in Kutch, Kargil, Kashmir, and thereafter launched a swift attack, capturing large territories, threatening important towns, causing massive destruction of Pakistan military, and if I can say, use the word stalemate, but it was a decisive and a landmark victory for India.
Indeed. If Pakistan lost 60% of its armor, if I remember correctly, the stories I've heard right from my childhood, like you must have heard, like every Fauji kid does, 300 plus Pakistani tanks.
Yes.
Punjab became the graveyard of
Yes.
Pakistani Patton tanks, didn't it, sir?
Yes.
But why did Pakistan continue to provoke us? I fail to understand, despite India being so generous with that Indus Waters Treaty in 1960.
Yeah.
So, our kindness is rewarded with conflict.
Our top leadership wanted peace with Pakistan. But the core reason of Pakistan's repeated military misadventure from 1947 till date have not changed. And they were very recently enumerated by the Pak Army Chief Asif Munir also, where on 16th April, just before the Pahalgam attack, he said that Kashmir is the Pakistan's jugular vein. And he emphasized on the two-nation theory, a theory that Hindu and Muslims are two different nations. A debunked theory,
Yeah.
but that is what the Pakistani leadership professes. Also in 1965, Pakistan had got emboldened by the large military aid it had received from the United States, the Patton tanks, Sabre and Starfighter jets. And it also perceived India to be militarily weak and vulnerable after 1962 war.
Yes.
So in a way, it was an opportunistic maneuver by Pakistan based on its assumed military strength and perceived Indian vulnerability.
It's interesting you should mention that, this opportunistic maneuver that Pakistan tried to undertake, given the fact that we'd suffered a debacle in 1962. But post 1962, the Indian Army also tried to improve quite a bit, and the professional army that we are, sir. But I want to understand from you, in the conventional sense, Pakistan thought it could try either through terrorists or Razakars, as you mentioned, in Kashmir, but this wide area of its operations from Kutch initially to Kargil and then Kashmir. Do you think in the conventional sense he thought he could either do it unconventionally or do it conventionally, and can he do it again?
Yeah, actually, Pak, as I look at it, he may again carry out terrorist attacks. Something what he did in Pahalgam very recently, despite the punitive punishment which we have given to Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. But like in 1965, I feel that Pakistan Army may carry out conventional operations also if it feels that India is vulnerable at some point. So to me, the threat exists both in a hybrid domain, that is the attack by the terrorists, or in conventional domain, that is by the Pak military. So we, on the western borders, we cannot let our guard down. We need to remain fully prepared for any contingency, for any misadventure by Pakistan.
So that's very important, that the threat of Pakistan terror and Pakistan hybrid or conventional operations remain even today
Yes.
even after Operation Sindoor. And
Yes.
if I were to go back for a moment to 1965, Pakistan perceived India to be weak and it carried out a number of operations. What is your reading of India's counter strategy and some of those important battles, in your view, where India was able to turn the tide on Pakistan and the challenges we faced there?
Yeah. So Indian strategy, if I can say so, starting from Kutch, Kargil, Kashmir, was to prevent the Pakistani misadventures. But thereafter, we decided to go for counter-offensive, and we launched our offensive towards Sialkot and Lahore. So, if you look at the number of battles which have fought, there are very many important battles where our brave soldiers fought with valor, defeated Pakistani army. There are countless examples of courage and sacrifice of our brave soldiers and outstanding combat leadership. So, actually, all battles, all engagements are very important. But if you ask me to name a few very important battles, maybe the capture of Haji Pir
Oh,
by
yes.
Major Ranjit Singh Dayal,
Amazing.
important landmark. Battle of Philora,
Yes.
where Lieutenant Colonel A.B. Tarapur
Yes.
led his unit from the front, made the supreme sacrifice, was awarded Paramveer Chakra. Battle of Barki and Dograi,
Yes.
where we crossed the Ichogil Canal, threatened Lahore. Then, of course, the battles near Khemkaran, where Pakistani attacks were foiled, and the fields of Asal Uttar
Yeah.
actually became the graveyard of the dreaded Pakistani
Patton
Patton
tanks.
tanks.
Yeah.
And it is at Asal Uttar where CQMH Abdul Hamid in his RCL Jeep took on the Patton tanks, destroying a number of them, sacrificed his own life, and earned the Paramveer Chakra.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, I get goosebumps when I think of that valor with one RCL or a recoilless gun mounted on his Jeep. He was targeting Pakistani Patton tanks, the M47, M48s, and they were the latest at that point of time, kept changing his flank and attacking. But, sir, there's a very important point that you've just mentioned. Lieutenant Colonel Ranjit Singh Dayal, Haji Pir, a Sikh officer. Colonel Tarapur, Adirshir Tarapur, leading from the front. CQMH, Company Quartermaster Havaldar Abdul Hamid. We don't even look at our officers as whether he's a Parsi or a Hindu or a Sikh or a Muslim. For us, they're all Indian Army. Sir, you just a short while back, you mentioned as far as Asim Munir is concerned, he gives this two-nation theory and Hindus and Muslims are different. I mean, just look at, you just mentioned, it's so not true.
Yeah. Actually, when you look at the Indian army or Indian nation as such, it turns the two-nation theory on its head. Actually, the two-nation theory was debunked even in 1971 when East Pakistan broke away. But then Pakistan leadership, its military leadership, it still espouses this theory and tries to create animosity based on religion.
Yeah.
But I feel to us in India, मजहब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना. That is the strength of our nation. And that is the strength of Indian Army. Its secular credentials, its pan-India character. Each soldier of Indian Army is an Indian first, irrespective of his region or religion. As leaders, we get inspired by the Chatwood motto, nation first, men next, yourself last. And that is the ethos a soldier applies to his religious beliefs also. Deshbhakti. Nation is the first religion. Religion of our men and own religion come thereafter.
True. In fact, the other point that you raised, sir, Pakistan had the latest tanks, the M47, M48 American-made Patton tanks, and they were the latest, the Sabre jets that the Pakistan Air Force had, or the Starfighters. Compared to that, our Shermans, our Centurions, and yet we came out on top. That Punjab became the graveyard of those Pakistani Patton tanks, and we have a Patton Nagar, don't we, sir? So what explains this, that they had the latest and we came out on top?
Well, you rightly said that Pak had technologically advanced tanks and the aircraft, starfighter, and saber jets. But ultimately, what proved decisive was the man behind the machine, the training and motivation of our men. Like you rightly said, CQMH Abdul Hamid. Can you imagine a person sitting in an open jeep engaging the Patton tanks? In just 2 days from his jeep, he destroyed 7 Patton tanks, which were considered invincible. In the sugarcane fields of Asal Uttar, he turned steel into scrap and fear into fury. He was hardened in the Battle of Namka Chu in 1962, where he had witnessed the death at close quarters. He had told his buddy, I am not afraid of dying. I am afraid of not doing my duty. Makes me a bit emotional, but such was the motivation level of our soldiers which won the war for us.
Sir, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you right now talk about the unparalleled valor of CQMH or Company Quartermaster Havaldar Abdul Hamid. Can I request you to tell us a little more about the horseshoe maneuver, the sugarcane fields that was full of water, and how it became a graveyard for the Pakistani Patton tanks, sir?
What had happened was that we had anticipated that Pakistani tanks would be advancing in this area, and we had flooded the sugarcane fields. So when the Pakistani armor advanced, they were quite bogged down, and a lot of them were actually sitting ducks. Yesterday, I was talking to the veterans of 1965 war, and one of them related to me that his company captured about 15 odd Pakistani tanks, a rifle
One company, 15 tanks.
because they were totally
Amazing.
bogged down. So Asal Uttar was a great battle fought by the Indian Army.
It indeed was. A company, for the benefit of some of our viewers, is about 130 soldiers, 100, 130.
Yeah, about 100 men,
100
fighting
men.
men, yeah, you can say.
So 100 men capturing 15 enemy tanks. It just goes on to show, as the general very rightly put, that fear turned into fury, and there was no way that the Pakistanis could have done that. When you read about these battles, when you hear from serving generals and veterans, it just fills you with that immense sense of pride. However, there are those who say 65 was a stalemate. Sir, I want to understand, if more than 300 Pakistani tanks were destroyed, and Pakistan, I believe, admits to close to 200, if we took I think over 1,000 square kilometers of their territory in one area, more than 2,000 in another area. And if all of that was happening and more, if we took Haji Pir, was it a stalemate or was it a victory for India that we do not say was a victory for India?
Stalemate or victory, I think the facts speak for themselves. Pakistan failed to achieve any of its objective. It failed to change the status quo in Kutch. It was evicted from Kargil. Its Operation Gibraltar to capture Jammu and Kashmir failed miserably. It could not reach Akhnur to cut off Jammu and Kashmir. So in fact, it failed in all its attempts. Indian response was firm. We captured Haji Pir Pass and a lot of other areas in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. We launched attack on Lahore and Sialkot and captured a large number of objectives. Actually, we were very close to these two towns, Lahore and Sialkot, when the ceasefire was announced. So actually, we captured close to 2,000 square kilometers of territory in Pakistan, mostly in its heartland Punjab.
Wow.
Like you said, we destroyed a large number of tanks and their aircrafts. And as per us, more than 5,000 Pakistani soldiers were killed in this operation. So for us, it was an unambiguous and very decisive victory for India.
That's a very big statement you're making. And so we captured the crucial Haji Pir Pass. And sir, you've served in that area. I believe you commanded your battalion in that area.
Close to that area.
Close to that area.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us the significance of the capture of Haji Pir, and was it a mistake to return it?
Well, Haji Pir, very important pass, like you rightly said, and a lot of infiltration of Rajakas, which happened in 1965, happened through that pass. And we had captured it. Now, some people say, in retrospect today, that maybe we should not have returned Haji Pir Pass. But we must understand that it was a decision taken in the interest of promoting lasting peace between the two countries. Like I said, our top leadership has always sought peace. Peace with neighbors, which leads to development and prosperity. We returned Haji Pir Pass hoping that Pakistan would mend its ways and work towards peace.
And unfortunately, that has never happened.
Yeah, you're right, but I think it was a right decision at that time to promote peace between the two countries.
And yet, if you see the trajectory of India-Pakistan relations, we started by talking about the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty, such a generous treaty for Pakistan. And I personally believe, I don't know what's your view, sir. I'm so glad that it's now been held in abeyance so that Pakistan realizes blood and water cannot flow together. Sir, each time when we look at what Pakistan does, whether it was in 1947, immediately after independence, it launched its raiders or Razakars, that time the tribal raiders, or Kargil 1999, when Musharraf, took over some of our territory along the LC. Are Pakistan's plans maybe tactically brilliant, but not strategically thought through? Or, does their leadership fail to see what India's response will be?
Yeah, right, Gaurav. I think Pak plans its tactical operations well. But I think it does not think through the outcome of those tactical operations. So maybe the strategic thinking has been lacking in its planning of operations. 1947, it infiltrated the Mujahids. And that convinced the Maharaja that ceding to India was the right decision. 1965, you look at it, number of strategic errors. Operation Gibraltar, it presumed that the Awam of Jammu and Kashmir will support it. Proved to be very, very wrong. Also, it assumed that it could restrict the war to J&K. But then we crossed the international border and attacked him in heartland Punjab. 1971 also, it lacked the strategic thinking and assumed that India would not be provoked by its orgy of violence in East Pakistan. It presumed that India would remain a mute bystander to the ethnic cleansing of Bengalis. Well, we intervened. And rest is history. Birth of a new nation, Bangladesh. 1999, Pak did not anticipate our violent and resolute response to its occupation of Kargil peaks. This year killing in Pahalgam, I don't think Pak appreciated the resolve of our leadership to respond vehemently and emphatically and hit it where it hurts. That is in heartland Punjab. Yeah. So perhaps you're right. Pak clearly lacks strategic thinking while planning its military operations.
And when you look at Pakistan in terms of the kind of operations they undertake, if you look at 1965, they had the latest weapons and they failed. When you look at Pahalgam, did they realize that, fine, let's kill Hindus, and Was their aim that let's create trouble in India? How have things changed in your view in Pakistani thinking and India's response from 1965 to Operation Sindoor?
No, Pakistan thinking from 1965 till date has not changed.
Not changed at all.
It still believes in its two-nation theory, in creating animosity between the Hindus and Muslims. Like you rightly said, what he did in Pahalgam was not only to disturb peace in Kashmir, it was also to create, you can say, a divide in our country. But it failed.
So, sir, the Pakistani mindset may not have changed, but the warfare has changed from 1965 to Operation Sindoor, and the punitive strikes, that's changed.
Yeah, you're very right. Actually, the character of war, as we say, is changing and changing very rapidly. It changing as we talk with the technology which is evolving. The equipment, what we fight with, has evolved over the years. The tanks, the aircraft, all fighting platforms, what we have, are much more advanced, much more lethal. If I may say, the Second World War was about mass. The Gulf War was about precision. And today we are in an era of precision mass. So it's the unmanned systems, drones, which are the biggest game changer today. The low-cost precision drones actually have made the high-cost platforms in all domains: land, air, sea, tanks, aircrafts, ships. They are hugely vulnerable to these low-cost precision drones. So there are transformative changes in the way we will fight the war now, and we are adapting to those changes. But having said that, the nature of war does not change. The war still involves fighting and incapacitating the enemy. War still involves capture of important objectives, capture of territory for any decisive victory. So that is the nature of war, which I think will not change.
That's a very, very pertinent point that you make. While 1965 may have seen, the greatest tank battles after the Second World War, the Battle of Kursk involved so many tanks, and then 65 involved so many tanks. It also involves change of territory, dominance of land. There are some who say, like in Operation Sindoor, we were able to punish Pakistan, destroy 11 of his air bases, 6 of his radar stations, 9 of his terror training camps, including Muridke and Bahawalpur. But in future warfare, will we need, you mentioned the drones, and Azerbaijan-Armenia war showed, sir, that the Azerbaijan drones, were superior to the Armenian tanks. In future warfare, would we need to hold territory, take territory, and tanks, will they remain important, or the kind of warfare that we are fighting, does that remain important?
No, you rightly said that drones and unmanned systems will define how the war will be fought from now on. But what we want to achieve, I think that will not change. Because historically, if you see, the wars have always been won or lost on ground. One exception, if you can guess. That's when the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's the only time where a decisive victory, Japan surrendered, was achieved purely by destruction. Look, Gulf War 1991. USA had decimated Iraqis.
Yes.
100 days of bombing, destroyed everything. But still, it had to launch ground operations to capture territory. Vietnam War. 7.5 million tons of bombs dropped on Indochina by United States. Much more than World War II. But it could not achieve victory.
And land battle changed it all.
Yes, because it could not capture the Viet Cong strongholds. It could not capture the ground. You see the Russia-Ukraine war which is happening now. Heavy losses on both sides.
Yeah.
But when we talk of victory, it is still being defined by the land captured by Russia in eastern Ukraine or what Ukraine did in Kursk region. In fact, when you look at the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, the drones and missiles are causing very severe damages on both sides. Aircraft, by the way, are conspicuous by their absence.
Yeah, interesting.
Ukraine does not have much of air force, but Russia Russian aircrafts also have not entered the battle zone because of the air defense system of Ukraine. In fact, if I may say so, Russia is hiding its aircraft in depth bases, fearing attack by the Ukrainian drones. So in our context also, if you see 1965, we captured Haji Pir Pass, we captured areas in Sialkot, Lahore, we won. 71, we captured East Pakistan. Decisive victory. Kargil, we captured important peaks. So I feel that land is important for victory. After all, we all live on land. But to capture land, we need efforts in all dimensions. Ground, air and sea. We need joint and integrated efforts of Army, Air Force and Navy. And not to forget our brave paramilitary forces also. We need to fight integrated. The three services have to plan and execute operations in an integrated manner. Actually, we also need to integrate the efforts of all other stakeholders. It has to be a whole of nation approach to achieve the decisive victory.
In fact, from your answer, if I may ask you another question, from 1965 is one of the most important lessons which has been proven in Operation Sindoor, integrated approach to combat.
Yes, that is very important, and we need to plan, like I said, we need to plan our operations in an integrated manner. We need to execute our operations in an integrated manner. Today's warfare cannot be fought with the services working in their own silos, with lack of integration with the paramilitary forces, with lack of coordination with civil administration. Like I said, it has to be an integrated whole of nation approach.
Sir, when we look at you from your days as a young second lieutenant to now being army commander, you've studied and seen Pakistan in operations over decades. You were also Director General Military Operations. What is your reading of Pakistan's DNA? You know, sending in Razakars and raiders in 1947, 65 war, 71, sending terrorists into Punjab, sending terrorists into Kashmir. All of this is your area of expertise. What is Pakistan Army's DNA and Pakistan's DNA, sir?
Well, actually, when you look at it, our leadership wants peace. In fact, like I say, we fight a war to achieve peace. We gave back Haji Pir Pass because we wanted peace. And I think the people on both sides desire peace. When Pakistani people are yearning for peace and prosperity. But the challenge lies with Pakistani leadership, especially its military leadership. Like you said, the DNA of Pakistan Army. Now, the Pakistan Army is guided by its self-interest. It wants to have a continued confrontation with India. So, peace with India is an anathema to Pak generals. Because if there is peace, they will become irrelevant. They will lose their power, perks and privileges. So Pak Army, I think, will keep alive its false narratives of two-nation theory, existential threat from India, Kashmiri Brotherhood, revenge of 1971. In fact, it has been using terrorism as an instrument of statecraft to keep the relations strained. And somewhere down the line, it has sacrificed the interest of its own people. So I'm very sure that the ultimate key to peace between India and Pakistan lies with the Pakistani population, the Awam of Pakistan. They have to get over their illusion of Pakistan army as savior of the country. And Pak people, I think, need to empower their political leaders so that they are not dependent on Pak army to remain in power. So the key to peace, like I said, is with Pakistani people.
So when you look at Pakistan's history or India-Pakistan history, whether it was sending in tribal raiders in 1947, Pakistan lost. 65, Pakistan lost. 71, Pakistan lost. Every operation, Op Meghdoot, Op Vijay, terrorism he tried in Kashmir, terrorism he tried in Punjab, Operation Sindoor, the most latest, he's lost each time. But what is your overall assessment? How would you look at our efforts, our victory, and the road ahead?
Political leadership of the country from 1965 till date continues to be peace-loving, but firm, ethical, and decisive under pressure. It has given us the desired freedom of action and fully supported the armed forces. In 1965, the then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri had famously said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Security and sustenance are the keys. In the recently concluded Combined Commanders Conference at Kolkata,
Yes,
the Honorable Prime Minister expounded the Jai for us to achieve Vijay. So it's important for us to imbibe this mantra, Jai for Vijay. Fight jointly, fight integrated. 1965 to Op Sindoor, if I may say, Indian Army fights not only to safeguard the territory of India, but also the idea of India, the values of our great nation, the values enshrined in our constitution, values of a secular and democratic India. We fight for the righteous cause. We fight a dharma yuddha. That is our strength. Yato dharma, tato jaya. Where there is righteousness, there is victory.
Brilliant, brilliant, sir. In fact, I will let that be the last word. But, sir, before I let you go, I want you to elaborate for a moment. Now, should there be a threat? Should there be a threat for India again? You, as the defenders of our nation from this Pakistani state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, what is your assurance to the country?
Well, Gaurav, I think through your channel, I can assure our countrymen that Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces will remain steadfast in guarding the safety and honor of our great nation. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. Yato dharma, tato jai. Where there is righteousness, there is victory. It may be the motto of the Supreme Court of India, but that's the philosophy of our armed forces. Lieutenant General Katyar, Army Commander, Western Command, for joining me here on this Chakravyuh podcast. Sir, many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav, for